Please welcome Vice President, Applications, AWS, Dilip Kumar.
Good morning. Hope you all are having a great reInvent. I'm Dilip Kumar. I'm a Vice President in our AWS Applications group. I've been at Amazon for a little over 19 and a half years, and I've done a lot of work on pricing, supply chain, and for the last few years, I've been working on our physical retail technologies. In a recent fireside chat with employees, Andy Jassy was asked this question of how do you invest in new businesses? And this is what he had to say. Generally speaking, when we look at new businesses, we ask ourselves these 4 questions. Well, first, if we executed well, can this be a needle mover for Amazon? Second, is it in an area that is well served today? Third, do we have a differentiated approach to the problem? And last but not the least, do we have a competency or could we acquire it? Let me give you an example from physical retail that I've been associated with. Several years ago, a small group of us got together to figure out how we could reinvent the physical store shopping experience. Now, as customers, you all know that physical retail is very well served. There's a lot of options, there's a lot of choices, there's a lot of formats for us. But the one thing that we didn't like as customers is we don't like waiting in lines. It's not the most productive use of our time. And we said that we should try to do something to fix this. Fast forward many years later, we launched Just Walk Out on our Amazon Go store, where you can come in, take what you want, and just walk out, no waiting or stopping in line to pay. Sophisticated computer vision algorithms and machine learning algorithms behind the scene keep track of all the interactions that you're doing so that when you're done shopping, you can just walk out. Customers have loved this experience. Another related area that we worked on was that if you think about your own experiences, every day you end up identifying yourself many, many times over. Let me give you a few examples. You use a corporate badge to get into your building. You use a key fob to get into a gym or a garage. You pay using a credit card at a point-of-sale terminal. Or you use a phone to enter a stadium. And in all of these cases, the method that you use to identify yourself or pay is different. And there's no uniformity. We thought that we could do better with using something that you all have at all times. And we launched Amazon One, which is a fast, convenient, contactless way to use the power of your palm to enter, identify, and pay. Again, sophisticated computer vision algorithms behind the scene figure out exactly who the person is and associate that to the credit card that you've used to register and pay. These 2 are great examples of how you can bring and ask those 4 questions and bring this into reality. What started in Amazon Retail is now in over 100 stores across Amazon Go, Amazon Fresh, both in the US and UK, as well as several Whole Foods locations. But we've gone beyond that to several other places. Take a look.
I think it's great. Technology is very cool.
It was super easy, super
fast.
convenient.
I thought it was awesome.
So what started in physical retail is now in stadiums, airports, convenience stores, other street front retail. As a fan, you no longer have to miss out on the action of the game. Or if you're like me and you're stressed out whether you're going to be able to make the line before your flight leaves, we got you covered at the airport as well. Companies who have adopted Just Walk Out and Amazon One have loved the fact that it has increased throughput in their stores because you can service a large number of customers in a very short period of time. And sales have increased by as much as 3 times compared to similar locations selling the same merchandise using a point of sale. But all said and done, the best comment that I think that sort of summarizes this entire experience is this. I got my beer in 8 seconds. Exactly. So this is an example of where we asked ourselves these fundamental questions to say that we bet on convenience. And convenience is one of those things where if I asked you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are you more likely to want to wait in a line? The answer is likely not going to be yes. The same question is about, is this an area that was being well served? And no, it wasn't. If you looked at a lot of the physical retail evolutions that have happened, they've sort of slightly increased how they've improved the checkout pace. It's increased by 5% or it's increased by 10%. But we took a completely differentiated approach where we said that, what if there wasn't any checkout? Starting there and working backwards from that customer required us to invent and push the boundaries of machine vision and computer vision to be able to build this. And last, we had to build a competency because nothing like this existed. So from hardware to software to construction, we had to create these skill sets to be able to build this business from the ground up. And companies are loving it. AWS Applications is not really a new group, and it's been in existence for a while. One of the things that all of you are familiar with is how every customer loves building on AWS because they love the scalability, they love the reliability, they love the security, love the pay-as-you-go pricing. But increasingly, customers are also coming to us and saying that they love to have us build more applications higher up in the stack, solve more business-oriented problems. And in the AWS Applications group, there's several areas, and we sort of think of these in 4 buckets, but there could be more in the future. At the Communication Developer Services, you can have things like Simple Email Service or the Chime SDK, which allows you to embed email, voice, video chat in your business applications. For IT administrators and others who have to deal with the hassle of provisioning desktops, the End User Computing group is all about figuring out how is it that we can get you a secure, permanent desktop that's provisioned, hassle-free, and is made available to you. If you want ephemeral access to applications, the Amazon AppStream is a perfect use case for that. We also have a layer of productivity applications, AWS Wicker, AWS Clean Rooms, which we announced yesterday, and several other products. And business applications are purpose-built, like Amazon Connect, our cloud contact center, AWS Supply Chain, which we announced yesterday, Amazon One, and Just Walk Out. And we believe that we're just getting started in this. Let me tell you about Wicker. So Wicker was an app that we bought in 2020, and just yesterday we announced that it was going to be publicly available as an AWS service. Now, as a secure communications app, there is no parallel. It has 256-bit end-to-end encryption, and it has several administrative and regulatory features that allows you to be able to store images, store messages, and to be able to have this audit trail possible for it every time. One of the things that customers have loved that when they look at these secure communication apps, none of them offers the enterprise security along with the administrative flexibility of Wicker. Shifting gears to Amazon Connect. As you all know, Amazon is very well known for customer service. And we've always had this very high bar for superior customer service over the years. Customers kept coming to us and saying that what can they do to be able to get something similar for their own frontline, because this was a critical core function for all of their businesses. The Amazon Connect was born in 2017, and within a year, the scalability of it was reflected in us having our first 30,000 agent contact center in 2018. And over the years, on a metronome, the team has built several machine learning features and scalability features and expanded to many countries. During COVID, they were launching 80 contact centers every day. And right now, the service has grown to the point where we have tens of thousands of customers who are doing 10 million plus interactions on a daily basis. Truly staggering, and it sort of speaks to the power of what this application can do. Think about what a call center supervisor has to typically deal with. One of the most foundational and basic questions you have to ask yourself is, well, how many people should I schedule for work today? It seems like a very simple question to ask, but schedule too few, and you and I are on the other side of the line cooling our heels. Schedule too many, and while we're happy because we get faster customer service, it costs the company a lot of money because agent utilization drops, and it's very expensive. And that's on a good day. You add to that macroeconomic disruptions, lack of real-time visibility, and general workforce shortages that have been going across, plaguing the industry, and what's a difficult job just gets even harder. So I'm happy to introduce Amazon Connect's forecasting, capacity planning, and scheduling. And this is a simple way within Connect in order for us to be able to provide forecasts on what do you think the call volume is going to be several months down the line? Or what is the average handle time going to look like several months from now? These are very crucial questions that starts this entire workforce planning so that you can determine how many full-time equivalents that you need to schedule. But this isn't about just long-range planning. It's also about doing the very tactical planning on a day-to-day basis to say, who do I need to schedule for work tomorrow? People go out, they get sick, they don't show up for work. You need to be able to have the real-time flexibility and the different forecast views to be able to publish these schedules so that people can get access to this in real time. That's the power of what Amazon Connect does. And underpinning all of this is the fact that this would only work if our forecasts were as accurate as they need to be. And customers have told us that our forecasts are more than 95% accurate compared to what they have previously used, which is a great start. One of the things that the team has introduced over the years is these several machine learning features, and one of them is Contact Lens, which is a real-time conversational analytics part that is embedded, which analyzes the voice calls as they come in. It does transcription, it does sentiment analysis, and it does sensitive data redaction. I'm happy to introduce two new capabilities for Contact Lens. The first one is that what used to work for calls and voice calls is now expanded to chat. Increasingly, customers are contacting companies on chat versus voice. And so being able to expand the same capabilities that were available for voice to chat is a huge step forward. The second thing that supervisors are typically tasked with is to know whether the agent actually performed according to the script. Did they greet the customer? Did they actually go through the script as it was necessary? And at the end of the day, they had to pour through hundreds and hundreds of chat transcripts in order to be able to figure out whether the agent performed their job or not. So agent performance evaluation was a very cumbersome and an undifferentiated heavy lifting for customers. So with automatic agent performance evaluations that's coming in preview, we can automatically summarize using machine learning algorithms whether the script was followed, create these evaluations so that the supervisors can spend more time with the agents coaching rather than filling out forms. And one of the things that we see with this is that we've been able to reduce the number of evaluation forms necessary by more than 200%, which is a huge start. If I were to ask you this question, that if you called in today, on average, how many applications does a call center agent on the other side or the customer service agent on the other side have open? Your answer may be a little slower than what people normally do. The answer is about 8.2. No one actually has 8.2 tools, but that's how averages work, generally speaking. The idea is that call center agents, when you're calling in, are constantly juggling across information and trying to find very disparate pieces of information, either in order management system or customer management systems or shipping manifestos, and they're not generally connected in a single place. So one of the things that I'm happy to introduce is this notion of a Connect Agent Workspace, which provides you a single pane of glass to be able to get all the features and all the pertinent details when a call comes in right at your fingertips so that you don't have to toggle between different applications. Let me show you how this sort of works. So when a call comes in, imagine you're working at a car rental place and as a customer service agent and a call comes in. One of the first things that we have all gone through this is they have to verify the authenticity of the caller. Now you can do this using voice biometrics and caller identification. So as soon as the call comes in, you can immediately know that this is an authentic caller and you can proceed with the rest of the call. No extra steps necessary. The second thing that's very useful is it's always useful to know pertinent details of the customer who's calling in, especially if they've called in before. Our customer profile information, again, provides all the relevant details in a very single, clean to understand page so that you don't have to go searching for this information. Sometimes calls take, you're one and done, and sometimes you have multiple calls that you have to make for a variety of reasons. And in either of these situations, it's painful to constantly have to summarize to a new customer service agent as to what it is that you went through the last few days, or the last few weeks, or the last few times that you called. With case management, all your prior interactions with the company are cataloged, and it's easily available to any agent so that they can, at a very quick glance, see through the entire history of your conversations or your contact with that company. Now, one of the other things that tends to happen is that as people are calling in, they're asking about specific questions. Oh, I booked a rental car, but I'm not sure if I added the discount code. And I'm like, can I get the discount code added? Simple questions that tend to come up. But what's happening on the other end is that customer service agents are frantically scrambling to be able to figure out if they can actually do this, or they can do this, and how they should do this. One of the things that we built is this notion of machine learning models behind the scenes can figure out either using chat or voice, and the intent of what the call is, the specific issues that the customer is calling about, and then surface out relevant articles to help the agent solve their use case very quickly. And last but not the least, one of the things that customer service agents want to be able to do is you don't want them to toggle to go to a different application in order to be able to fulfill. So if you want to edit the reservation, if you want to make a new reservation, with a few small clicks, you can create these tasks and create these templates that allows the agent, without leaving the Connect workspace, to be able to perform these tasks. Again, this is what the agent workspace brings in one simple, single pane of view for the agents. Why is this important? Because when you call or I call, the average time it takes for them to handle our use case goes down by more than 50%. And it actually helps us train the agents a lot faster than what they used to do when all of this information was in very disparate locations. So it's beneficial for us as well as it's beneficial for the company. So it's a win-win. Now I'd like to call on Diego, who's going to be talking about AWS supply chain, another core business problem which companies grapple with. Diego?
Thank you, Dilip. My name is Diego Pantoja Navajas. I am the VP of AWS Supply Chain. When I joined AWS, they told me that we like to work hard, have fun, and make history. I feel that yesterday was one of those historic moments when Adam Selipsky, our CEO, announced the preview launch of AWS Supply Chain. Supply chain challenges started many years ago. And supply chain issues, although they were really affected by the pandemic, supply chains needed to switch from a supply side economy of scale to a demand side economy of scale. What I mean by that is that right now we live in a demand-driven supply chain where we, the users, really have the power of how products have to come to us when we want them and how we want them. So it's very important for us to understand this concept because in summary, what I'm trying to tell you is that you as a user, right now, you can ask all the products that you want, you can buy online or through different channels. As an example of this concept, just think about the number of packages that you have received over the last 72 hours. So it's very important to understand that in addition to all the issues that we have, our companies are also experiencing other type of issues that are related to post-pandemic, related to geopolitical issues, of course, related to a lack of products or components, and also labor shortages. And also we're being affected with loss of capacity in the supply chain. So the amount of issues that we have through the supply chain are widespread. Companies are experiencing a climate of persistent unpredictability. In order to meet the needs of our customers and really quickly build solutions that can help them solve the supply chain issues, we really needed to dive deep and take a different approach on how we can solve these issues. And we did it. So we took a different approach on creating a new supply chain application. Also, in order to understand the supply chain issues, we need to understand that managing supply chains is complex because the supply chain data is scattered across a vast network of systems, from ERP solutions for supply chain planning and execution applications, like a warehouse management system or an order management. And the problem is that all that data is really stored in different formats in different places. So it's very hard to bring it all together. And because of the complexities of that, companies spend a lot of time trying to build processes to bring all the data together. They stitch together expensive consulting engagements to be able to bring that data so can they manage their supply chain in almost real time. But there's a problem. There's a problem because once you make a change of any of those standalone solutions, you need to start all over again. So it's a really repetitive cycle that affects companies all the time. But even those companies that have a very big holistic view of their supply chains, the problem of understanding the data is another issue that they need to handle. It's very important for these companies to be able to understand when supply chain issues are really affecting them. And it's very difficult to analyze that data. It's very important for those companies to make those decisions, understanding the real data in real time, so they can base their decisions not on outdated or inaccurate information, but in real-time information. So that's why it's very important to understand the complexities of supply chains. An additional issue that we run in supply chain is because we touch a lot of departments of areas in your company. We have a lot of teams that we need to coordinate, from inventory controllers, to buyers, to financial analysts, to inventory receivers or clerks. So the information that all these teams need to coordinate is very important. And there are no systems that can really combine all that data to help you manage that supply chain. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not a trivial solution to find how we can find the coordination among all these teams. There's a lot of friction because the data is not in a single place. There's a lot of problems because that causes delays. And at the end of the day, the customers, as the end consumers, are affected because of the lack of coordination in the supply chain. So it's very important to also have a lot of coordination among all teams. So that's why I'm very excited that we have launched AWS Supply Chain. So we can solve all these issues. And by leveraging the power of the cloud and cloud-native architecture, there's now a ready-to-be-used application that can handle all these volatile and complex work scenarios that companies are really experiencing in today's world. AWS Supply Chain automatically combines, analyzes, and aggregates the data across all these ERP solutions, supply chain planning and execution applications like order management or WMS. So we can help our customers to comprehend the data, understand what is happening in their supply chain, find trends, and quickly reduce the likelihood of stockouts of overstocks that really disappoint our customers. The exciting part about AWS Supply Chain is that you can do all that without the need of moving or changing your systems. There's no need to re-platform. AWS Supply Chain acts as an overlay of your systems, uniting the information across all of them to harmonize the data for your system. So basically, we're allowing you to maintain the existing solutions that you have, adding value on top of them, and harmonizing so we can have a much better orchestration of your supply chain at all times. Supply chains are complex, and we really need to have a solution that can help us solve these important issues. And one of the important things about supply chain is, for us, is that we were able to combine almost the 30 years of supply chain experience of Amazon.com in supply chain, and also try to leverage AWS services in compute, storage, and machine learning to provide to our customers a ready-to-be-used application. Supply chains need to help accelerating and reduce the resiliency and now increase the resiliency for our customers. We need to be able to mitigate risk, reduce cost, and also provide a better services to our customers. So how are we doing this? How are we going to accomplish helping our customers to really accomplish a much better resilient supply chain? Well, in order to do that, what we have done first is to be able to understand the supply chain. You have to free structured and unstructured data across all your supply chain. Because data is trapped in different systems, like I said before. So it's very hard to coordinate a resilient supply chain when you don't have all that information in one single place. And bring it all together so you can manage your supply chain in real time and be able to solve the issues that our customers are having. So our supply chain application is comprised of 4 key elements. A supply chain data lake that really forms the foundation on which AWS Supply Chain builds its capabilities, combining an extensible canonical data model that help us govern data, transform data, and store data for our customers. 2, data association, which is very important here. As I said, data in supply chain is stored in multiple systems, and we wanted to simplify the process of ingesting that data into our solution. So we were able to generate out-of-the-box machine learning power connectors and natural language processing that is allowing us to help transform that data into our canonical data model so we can help our customers understand the data from all these dispersed systems. Third, we wanted to provide them ML-powered insights. Like I said before, it's very difficult to understand all the data from all these systems. So we wanted to provide them actionable insights and recommendations so they can understand how they can transform the supply chains and how can also calculate, define supply chain performance metrics. And lastly, a micro front-end architecture that really helps our customers to understand how all that information is reflected in a pre-configured environment with maps and other information related to insights and recommendations for each size, for each inventory levels across their supply chain. So that is very important for them to be able to understand how can they collaborate across different teams and different products in different locations. We're very excited also that we were able to leverage Amazon knowledge to generate a lot of important models for our customers. Also, AWS Supply Chain includes demand planning for more accurately generate demand forecasts to help our customers learn about their demand and also be able to provide them with machine learning algorithms. We have built a cloud-based supply chain application that is future aware, that gives companies the agility to really meet their customer needs, whatever the world throws at them. And now, I want to show you a quick demo of our supply chain application.
Welcome to AWS Supply Chain. Let's walk through how to ingest your supply chain data, view your global inventory insights, mitigate risk, and manage demand forecast. It is easy to get started. In this example, a data analyst will use a personalized and configurable dashboard to set up AWS Supply Chain. Everything starts with data association. To begin using AWS Supply Chain, you have to add data from all your silo sources. Here you can connect to your systems in the following way. Select the data source, use one of our out-of-the-box connectors that automate the extraction and transformation of data into AWS Supply Chain's canonical data model. Or if you prefer, by uploading data directly into Amazon S3. With one click, you can connect to SAP S/4HANA ERP system into AWS Supply Chain. Let's do that now. Once the connection with SAP ERP is established, you're guided through an easy process to associate the entities in the source data set with entities in AWS Supply Chain. Here you see the AWS Supply Chain data association page. You will now notice entity groups on the left and input source tables on the right. Entity groups are categorized as non-transactional or transactional, which distinguish between master data, for example, items, company ID, vendor information, and transactional data coming from your execution systems like warehouse management system that contains LPN information or ship dates. Once your data properties have been associated to AWS Supply Chain's data model, a customer supply chain data is unified and aggregated, and AWS Supply Chain is ready to be used. Once all supply chain data is connected, AWS Supply Chain automatically begins analyzing master data, planning, and transactional data, and generates insights that can offer companies in any industry the information they need to anticipate inventory risks and be more resilient. Let's get over to see how an inventory manager uses AWS Supply Chain to solve problems and collaborate with teammates. When an inventory manager logs into the system, the persona-centric UI highlights supply chain insights and instantly displays inventory health information across their supply chain network. Let's imagine you're a senior inventory manager who is responsible for managing inventory across 5 distribution centers and 50 stores or manufacturing facilities in the US Southeast region. In one click, directly within AWS Supply Chain, you're able to see inventory positions across all your supply chain network in the real-time visual map. You're also able to drill down and see current and projected inventory positions at any one of your locations in the upcoming days or weeks. Let's imagine you are an inventory manager in the Atlanta region and you want to be certain there is enough inventory in your fulfillment center. AWS Supply Chain highlights your inventory levels, and you see that right now they are low, but not a risk. You can keep an eye on it, or you can create a watch list in AWS Supply Chain to keep track of inventory risks at any of your locations in just a few clicks. As you decided to create an inventory watch list for the Atlanta Fulfillment Center, you can now select the regions, items, setting tracking parameters, and turning on alerts to help ensure that this fulfillment center does not end up stocking out. AWS Supply Chain automatically analyzes and determines when inventory is at risk. For example, if there was not enough inventory within one region to satisfy demand, an alert will be generated. Here, you are alerted that a stockout will likely impact inventory levels across 50 facilities. But what action should you take to mitigate this risk? AWS Supply Chain also automatically measures and ranks various inventory rebalancing options and provides inventory managers and planners with recommended actions to take. In this particular example, you are shown options for inventory rebalancing. AWS Supply Chain provides the best rebalancing options that are ranked based on 3 levers that you can use to align the recommendation score with your corporate goals. 1. Inventory risk resolve, which means what is the appropriate level of inventory that can be solved. For example, if a location is 1,000 units at risk of a stockout, what is the percentage the system can resolve without putting other locations at risk? 2. Distance between locations in your logistic network. 3. Customers have told us sustainability is a key initiative to improve their supply chain resilience, and with AWS Supply Chain, you can now measure the amount of carbon footprint emissions, CO2, it will be required to move inventory from one location to another, aligning your supply chain goals with your overall company sustainability goals. With the lowest emissions impact and the highest resolution score, as an inventory manager, you can drill down to review the impact each option will have across your supply chain network. To take this rebalancing action to avoid a stockout, supply chain teams can talk to one another directly in AWS Supply Chain using our built-in contextual collaboration capabilities. In this example, you could directly message an inventory planner in the Mid-Atlantic region to see if they can execute a stock transfer and still meet demand in the region. AWS Supply Chain also has demand planning capabilities that allow companies to generate more accurate demand forecasts, adjust to market conditions, and collaborate with other supply chain managers to avoid excess and cost waste. To remove the manual effort and guesswork around demand planning, AWS Supply Chain uses machine learning to analyze data and continually adjust ML models to improve accuracy. If an inventory manager shares an inventory stockout risk with a demand planner, they can each go to their respective demand planning dashboard, review current promotional forecasts, and perform the necessary overrides to align the promotional demand with expected inventory. Here we see a probabilistic demand forecast with upper and lower probability bounds, allowing demand planners to adjust baseline forecasts to accommodate for promotional demand. AWS Supply Chain provides companies across all industries, including manufacturing, retail, healthcare, energy, and CPG, visibility across their supply chain network. Contextual collaboration, near real-time inventory insight, and rebalancing recommendations so they can take corrective actions in a timely manner to meet today's customer demand.
Woohoo! We're very excited about the product. I want to acknowledge all our customers, our global AWS supply chain team, business partners, and everybody who has collaborated in the launch of this product. It's been an amazing journey, so thank you very much to all of you. So now, as you can see, AWS Supply Chain really joins Connect and other AWS business applications, and we move up the stack from the developer building blocks to provide customers out-of-the-box experiences that provides a very rapid time to value. One of the exciting things about developing and building this product is how we're going to go and offer it in the market. And of course, as you can expect, you're going to be able to pay as you go to use AWS Supply Chain with no upfront fees, no minimum payments, no multi-year terms. It's a pay-as-you-go model. So what is exciting is that many of our customers already started to experience the benefit of our application. And we're excited to see that some of our customers, like in this case, Lifetime Brand, has been able to understand that AWS Supply Chain is a transformative application for the supply chain. And also, I really would like you to hear from other customers. And for that, I really have the pleasure now to invite Leandro Balbinot, the CTO of Whole Foods Market, to the stage to talk about how AWS Supply Chain is helping with their supply chain. Thank you, Leandro.
Thanks, Diego. Good morning. I'm Leandro Balbinot. I run technology for Whole Foods Market. As you know, Whole Foods is known by providing high-quality products to stores in US and also in UK and Canada. We have more than 500 stores across US and some in UK and some in Canada. So it's a pretty complex supply chain. We have 11 distribution centers serving these stores today. And especially on the perishable side of the business, it's pretty complex because of the locally sourced products and all that. So we always we have a very strong and efficient operations, but we're always looking for improvement in innovation. And you know, for the ones that are used to supply chain, the systems, the operational systems, transactional systems are pretty complex to innovate. They're good for the transactional day-to-day, but they leave a lot of paper cuts, right? Things that you would like to have to improve your operations, to improve the efficiency, and you would like to iterate and innovate, and you cannot, right? So that's when we look at options, right? And when you think about these options, as I said, the ERPs and the systems are pretty complex to do that. And sometimes some platforms are pretty complex to integrate and to bring all the data that you need to do it properly. That's what excites us about AWS Supply Chain and the partnership we have with them. So the easiness to gather data, because they have out-of-the-box connectors, as you saw in the demonstration, and also the easiness to transform the data, because it's not about having the data, it's having the data in the format and it makes sense out of this data, right? And that's what actually you can get with the NLP capabilities that the platform offers to you. So this allows you to have very quickly inventory management movement positions and future inventory positions as well, very quickly for your supply chain managers to be able to act and operate in a better way, right? And that allows us to innovate and iterate as well in terms of improving the situation. So that's what we like about the platform. So how we started this? We started with a proof of concept. And it was amazing that in a few days we were able to gather the data and start providing on-hand inventory positions to the team, as well as some future predictions about risks, right? So that was done pretty quickly for all the distribution centers. So you can see you have the position for all the distribution centers informing the balanced inventory, what's at risk from excess or for shortage. And then you can drill down to the product level. So that was done pretty quickly for us, and actually it's very exciting to see that you can do that and start providing some innovation for the operations. This map is what the supply chain managers love more. So, I mean, it's good to have this, to have adoption as well, because you have an easy way geographically to have a understanding how your inventory looks like for every distribution center, right? Then you can look and drill down and see what are the actions you have to make to mitigate the risks. So this is pretty powerful and increase the adoption considerably as well. When you look at the insights that the tool can provide to you, so generates automatic insights and proactively tell the supply chain managers what are the products that have a bigger risk, right? Then you can act upon them in terms of moving inventory, in terms of ordering more and stuff like that. So that reduces a lot the risks that you can have going forward. And you can drill down this and see where is the point where you have to take an action, right? So you can see that per product, and that actually gives a very strong lead time for the supply chain managers to act before the risk is materialized, right? And what's actually nice about the platform as well, you can actually collaborate inside the platform and inform, as you saw in the demo from Diego, you can inform the distribution centers what operations have to be made and communicate to all of them and have this collaboration happening real time in the tool in a context manner. So it's pretty powerful as well. And these things allow us also to keep evolving. So that's the beauty of that. As I said before, innovation is about iteration, right? Bringing continuous improvement, right? So there's no time more for this large multi-year supply chain programs that you're going to do digital transformation. So you have to be doing that in an iterative way, like removing the paper cuts more and more. And for instance, we are now going to load the shipping updates from the vendors. We're going to have a vendor lead time prediction. We're going to allow us to understand much better when the products will be available and take the actions more accurately. So that's a new thing we are doing in the tool right now. And you're going to keep evolving and innovating like that, because that's what the platform allows you to. You can add more data. You can transform the data the way you need in a very fast way. So that allows us for innovation and iteration. So what makes us excited about that partnership is really that. So the ability to be adding more and more data sources in an easy way and make sense of this data to generate more insights for the supply chain operations. So that's a way you don't need to re-platform your old systems. You don't need to build new ERPs. You just like bring the data to a way that you can make sense of this data, use machine learning predictions, and start acting upon the inventory. So that has been our experience so far, and I think I see this as a strategic pillar for us for the future to be able to delight our customers even more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leandro. Thank you, Leandro. We're very excited to continue to work with the Whole Foods, learn from them, and continue iterating our application to make it better from their feedback and getting a lot of that experience that they have. So thank you very much for being such a great partner. Also, our global SI partners are very excited to use AWS Supply Chain. Accenture has been working with many customers for many years to help building strategies with them. And Accenture will leverage AWS Supply Chain across Accenture's supply chain offerings to bring ML-powered pre-built solutions to allow their customers to solve complex supply chain problems for them. And now, I would like to bring Dila back to share a few more exciting launches and our vision for AWS application. Thank you very much, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Leandro. Diego, I'm super excited to see how customers react to our supply chain applications. I'd like to talk about a slightly different problem now, another one that companies face. There's several companies cut across, from financial services to healthcare to advertising, who would like to be able to collaborate on shared data while protecting their underlying data, and it turns out to be problematic for a variety of reasons. Either it requires complex privacy controls to be built, and clean rooms have emerged as a solution, but they're hard to maintain, they're hard to build, they're expensive. The privacy queries that you have to write might inadvertently expose some of the data that you're trying so hard to protect. And data has to be copied and moved, and the queries have to be constantly changed as the data updates. So for a lot of reasons, this has proved to be very cumbersome for companies. So yesterday, we announced the notion of AWS Clean Rooms, which is a new service that allows companies to be able to, and their business partners, to securely analyze and collaborate on the data sets together without revealing any of their underlying data. With AWS Clean Rooms, there's no data movement. Your data resides in AWS, and these queries can be executed right on that data right there. You get fine-grained control on the types of privacy queries that you want to write. What are the columns you want to expose? What are the rows? What's the data set that you want to be able to collaborate with your partners? And in just a few clicks, you can create collaborations, and you can be able to get started with your own clean room. And it enforces the several output constraints that you're sort of concerned about as to how much data should you show, what is it that you should be able to share. And rather than spending all this time in maintaining and building and creating these clean rooms, you could be spending more time on analysis, which is really where the business value is unlocked. Let's take an example. And another area that it tends to happen is that when you call in, you sometimes contact companies using your email address or your phone number or a web application on the form, like on the website somewhere. And in all of these instances, what tends to happen is that the marketing departments generally have multiple disparate copies for the same customer. And companies traditionally go through very expensive places and expensive processes to be able to coalesce all these disparate records into a single record. Next year, early next year, we're going to be launching an identity resolution capability, which allows us to be able to provide a service that matches and resolves these disparate records into a single unified record for your customer so that you can better target that customer. Let's take an example from the advertising industry. Advertisers have very particular needs, and they rely on this data to be able to collaborate with their business partners, with other ad tech companies or brands and publishers for personalization, for measurement, and to create new experiences to be able to figure out if their ads are working. Even simple questions like, was the ad run in the right place? Once somebody has purchased the product, how do you stop showing the ad? But the reason that these decisions become difficult is that purchasing data is somewhere else, and whether the ad was shown or not is in some other place. And so Clean Rooms is a perfect example which allows these companies to be able to merge their data sets together without sacrificing privacy, without revealing any of the underlying data, and to be able to better understand the lift and the measurement for the campaigns that they're running. We have several companies who are already using AWS Clean Rooms, and we expect this service to be expanded to many other verticals as well. When I think about the future of AWS applications, it distills around several key ingredients which are common to the things that we are building. The first is that all of these applications are solving business problems that are higher up in the stack, core critical business problems like supply chain or contact center that companies face on a daily basis. All of them also use and make extensive use of machine learning models behind the scenes so that companies don't have to invest time and energy in writing these. Most of these machine learning models are highly targeted towards specific business problems that makes it very practical and easy to use so that the companies don't have to invest time in figuring out how to build these and maintain these models. The third, all of the cloud scale, the security, reliability, and pay-as-you-go pricing, which companies have come to love, are all going to be part of what AWS applications will surface. And in many instances, like Just Walk Out or Amazon One and many more in the future, we're going to reimagine a different way to solve a problem that eliminates constraints that existed before, all to solve business-critical problems. I want to thank you for the time today. There's several sessions that we have that go further in depth on each of these areas that we talked about, from Connect to end-user computing to Wickr to supply chain. I'd love for you to be able to avail of these responsibilities. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your time at re:Invent. See you around.